So
two,
braggadocious.
one.
Andrew, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're just going over the story about how we got connected.
Yeah.
I was scrolling through LinkedIn and
Yep.
saw one of your drone videos. Love the quality, love the setup, what you're about, your content on it, and reached out and noticed that you've been up and running for almost about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And you have a small business drone company
Correct.
called Heartland Drone Company.
Heartland Drone Company. Yeah,
And
pretty simple.
How would you describe your business to someone?
Yeah, good question. And I actually describe it as a three-legged stool.
Oh,
And
wow.
basically the company stands on three legs. The first is providing drone services for the real estate industry.
Okay.
Right? So that's land, commercial, and residential. The second leg of the company is inspection work. So an example of that would be like building inspections or asset inspections. So I might be partnering with a restoration company who is looking at a historic building in downtown Kansas City. The building itself, they need to assess what is the status, what is the condition of the envelope of the building, right? So looking at masonry, tuck pointing, terracotta, water tables, all of those architectural components of a building. The traditional way to do that inspection was from swing stages or hoists or ladders or man lifts. It takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money. So with a drone, now you can actually fly a building and conduct an inspection using the 4K camera on the drone and have imagery in real time so that the restoration company can have a plan of action and use that information to put together a bid and win the job and then do the work. So that's the inspection piece.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways that you can do inspection work. It's kind of a broad term.
Yeah.
But that's the second leg of the business. And then the third is just kind of a catch-all. And I call it creative, right? So I might be working with a college who wants to showcase how beautiful and vibrant their campus is, and a good way to do that is from the air with a drone, right? I might be filming a 10K that's maybe a fundraiser, right? So there's all these different things from a more of a creative digital media perspective that you can tell that story with the drone, and you can tell it in a compelling way. So really those are the three elements of the company, the three verticals, the three legs, whatever you want to call them. But that's basically Heartland Drone Company today.
How do you go about doing the editing?
I do it myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a certain do you have clients that ask for a certain style that's maybe not your typical style of editing?
At times.
Yeah.
Yeah, at times. Usually the client doesn't have real specific needs in terms of editing. They've maybe seen stuff that I've already done to have a good idea, or they just trust me to take the creative direction and start producing it, and then show them a proof as we're going along to make sure that we're aligned and synced up. But from an editing standpoint, it's usually me just kind of grabbing it and running with it, and it usually works out in the end.
Yeah.
But no, I've been doing freelance graphic design and multimedia work for the last 14 years.
Oh, okay.
So
you're comfortable with editing software?
And like the Adobe suite, Adobe Premiere Pro, After Effects,
Which I'm not.
Yeah.
I got a GoPro and I was doing some videos.
Yeah.
And I downloaded the GoPro software and it crashed my computer. And then I started reading these blogs. I'm like, yeah, that's what the GoPro software does. I was like, okay, well, I wish I would have known that before I spent all that money. And then I downloaded Adobe Premiere. And you just have to dedicate hours and hours and hours and hours to get savvy with it. There's so many options. There's so many buttons.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have years of experience with that,
Yeah.
it's hard to just be like, I'm going to start editing videos.
Yeah, it's like paralysis by analysis, because if you open up, for example, the Adobe editing, which is Premiere Pro, you open it up and it might take you forever just to figure out how to drop your clips into the program to then start editing them, let alone going through and adjusting presets and levels and things like that. So the Adobe suite, the Adobe suite covers all sorts of different types of digital editing that you can do. And there's all these different programs, but I'd say the core that I really hang on are, from a video standpoint, Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe After Effects, which is like motion graphic work. So like if you want to make a logo like appear in a fun, creative way onto, like maybe the final frame of the video is the logo appearing. Or if it's like if their logo is a tree, maybe the tree sprouts up and sprouts leaves, and that's all done with After Effects. But then it's Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. So those are more of the graphic design components, where you can make elements and then put them in to After Effects and then put them in motion and things like that. So I'd say those are the big four that I work with from an editing standpoint.
It's almost, the drones are so trendy, and it's such a, especially for real estate and construction companies, it's almost like you have to have a drone aerial viewpoint. And I guess the first thing that comes to mind that I relate to is, 5 or 10 years ago, everyone all right, we need to hire a social media manager internally to do our Facebook and Instagram and yada yada. Are you seeing that now with a lot of your clients where they're going, all right, do we bring this in-house where we have someone on our IT team like manning the drone and we buy a drone, or do we outsource it?
Man, that's a good question. It's kind of a mixed bag. For those,
because I see J.E. Dunn going, all right, let's just buy a $20,000 drone and we'll use it on every site. And Dunn, they're unique in that they like to acquire resources on their own and develop it in house. That's just kind of how they operate. I've tried to break in or network with Dunn a lot, and we have a close family member who works for Dunn out in Colorado, and so I've always asked him, like, hey, how can drones get involved with J.E. Dunn? I mean, right here in our backyard, hello. But that's one of the challenges is that's just their culture. And so some companies are like that. It's a company culture thing. They like to invest in the technology and do it themselves, which is great, because at the end of the day, there's not many barriers to entry to have a legit drone operation. Same with recruiting.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And I think that's part of the gig economy and kind of our generation is how can we want to, there's a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs and they're overcomplicating it, and there's some ways you can be entrepreneurs where it only takes a $10,000 or $20,000 investment and you are owning a business.
Yeah, no doubt. And with drones specifically, so while there's really not huge barriers to entry, there's nothing stopping you or me from going online and buying an awesome drone from DJI, and having it drop shipped to the house, and you're flying it in 2 days. Nothing stopping you. There's really just a couple of compliance things that you have to work through if you're going to run a legit drone operation, and part of that is having having passed the Part 107 exam and being a certified drone pilot from the FAA. It's basically, it's kind of like being a real estate agent. You study for an exam, you take the exam, and then when you pass it, you're licensed. So similar to real estate in that regard, how you become a legit agent in a state. But the drone license you can use anywhere in the U.S., and you just have to re-register every 2 years and take the exam again.
I heard there's an app where you like if you're going to go throw up a drone right now, you got to go register that you're flying it.
So that's like the next thing. So the first thing to be legit and to fly legal and safe is you have to have your Part 107 license, and that's just if you're flying a drone for commercial purposes. And really the definition of that is if you're flying a drone to further a business, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just flying it to make money or you're getting paid. If you're flying it and giving the footage to a company, or you work for the company and you're flying it, if you're doing anything to further a business, you could be flying it for a church and giving the footage for a church and not making any money. You're furthering a business. So that's commercial. The flip side of that is recreational. So if you go buy a drone and you're flying it in the park and you're just taking pictures of your kid's softball game or whatever, personal use, that's recreational. There's a very thin line between the two, right? Because you can, for me, I'm commercial, but then I could just go fly it for recreational too. So it's kind of a blurry line right there. But anyways, when you're flying a drone for commercial purposes, you have to have your Part 107, but then when you're trying to fly in spaces that have restricted airspace, so that's what you were referring to, of opening up an app and getting approval to fly in a certain airspace. Here in Kansas City, really the big airspace that I deal with on a regular basis is Wheeler, downtown airport. So airspaces basically work by radius, like the distance out from an airport, and then also how high in the sky. So a drone legally can only fly 400 feet in the air. That's the ceiling for a drone.
That's probably plenty.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's plenty.
How high can it go? The one that you use?
It can go much higher than 400 feet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the most powerful drone that you have, how high can it go? And sit at that level?
Yeah. So, well, I've never pushed the limits to see how high it can go, but I also can't confirm or deny that it could go like 650 feet in the air.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. Okay, so it can go beyond 400 feet. The thing is, though, is like sometimes those rules change. So let's say that you are inspecting a tower, okay? Maybe you have a contract with a mobile phone, or a cell tower company, and you're inspecting that tower. You can actually fly 400 feet above the top of what you're inspecting. So in some of those cases, which in that case, I don't know why you would ever fly up to 400 feet beyond that. But sometimes a tower is it's
already 500 feet.
Yeah, it's like 500 feet tall, right? And so you're getting up there. But for the most part, when you're flying a drone, your ceiling is 400 feet. If you're flying above that for some reason in a restricted airspace, then you have to start getting some airspace authorization ahead of time. But that would be really kind of that second thing of what you need to know when you're flying a drone is if you're in a restricted airspace.
Have you ever had any major accidents with drones that you've seen?
That I've seen? Well, okay. So personally, I've crashed the drone once, and I would describe it as a healthy crash because at the end of the day, the drone didn't break, and I was able to just glue the fuselage and do a recalibration on it, and it's back to normal, and I still fly it all the time. But it also made me a better pilot because it's such a stupid maneuver that I was doing. I was trying to get this fancy lateral shot of this semi truck going into a warehouse parking lot, and I clipped the top of a tree. And when you're moving laterally, you can't see what's coming from the side. But have I seen other types of drone wrecks or crashes or anything? No, I haven't. I only hear about them on the news.
Interesting.
Which freaks people out.
Yeah.
Well,
how did you get the idea? Were you tinkering around with drones before you actually started the company, or you bought it, then you're like, I'm starting a company?
Yeah, good question. So kind of going back to what I mentioned earlier, I've been doing freelance work for 14 years, right? And freelance graphic design and video work, not including a drone. So any type of video work I was doing was just with at that time it was a GL2, like a Sony GL2, kind of an old school camera nowadays. But I came across some footage from a football game at Baker University, and Baker is my alma mater. And this drone footage was captured by a guy named Josh, and his name's Josh Chalker.
What year is this?
This would have been 2015, I think.
Because the big hype on drones was 2013, 14?
Yeah, right around that time.
Really getting
right around that time.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I think this is right around 2015 or 2014, somewhere in there. I can't remember. But I saw this footage, and if you've been to a Baker football game, they have a giant inflatable football helmet in the corner of the end zone that the team runs out of before the game, right? And I went to school at Baker. I played football at Baker. I even actually worked at Baker for 3 years in the athletics department. So I thought that I had seen every square inch of the stadium, right? But then I see it from a drone, and it's footage the drone's hovering about 50 feet above or 60 feet above the football helmet, and it's looking straight down, and you can see the players running out of it. An angle that literally no one has ever seen before. No one's ever seen that angle before at that stadium, right? And I saw that, and I thought, holy cow, this is really cool. You just want to stare at it and then watch it again. And something that was so normal, the team running out of the football helmet, was now being shown from a different angle that you hadn't seen it from before, and it was real compelling. It's man, this tells an old story in a new way. And so immediately the entrepreneur in me said, okay, this can be incorporated into a business strategy. And so I reached out to Josh, and we both hit it off. He kind of had a similar background. He really enjoyed doing graphic design, multimedia, and things like that. And we actually partnered. And he was one of the co-founders of Heartland Drone Company. And that's basically how it started. We were together for, like 6 months or so. Josh was finishing up his studies at Baker, so he was a senior. And then he got a really nice job in the corporate world, working at Cerner. And we were just kind of on different speeds with where we wanted to take the company. So it was just kind of a natural, time to go our separate ways. Yeah. But he was a great part of kind of getting the drone company rolling. And then I took it from there and basically have built it out to where it is today.
Okay. Yeah. And so you've had corporate jobs. You've worked for Cerner. You've worked for some, ironically, some major staffing firms that are in the billions of dollars. Yeah. And now you are a small shop, kind of like us, doing, building it from scratch. Yeah. Yep. What was it like making that transition from working with billion-dollar companies to literally you're going out and having to eat every day of what you kill? Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's funny because like in the corporate world, when I worked in the staffing industry, I worked on the sales side of the house. I was a recruiter, but then I also I did sales too and business development. And I really cut my teeth and learned different strategies of how to hunt, right? But I learned pretty quickly that at the end of the day, like I can only be successful doing something that I truly believe in and that I feel passionate in. And so for me, doing sales within the staffing industry, I felt like at the end of the day, I was representing the brand, the company, and I was, just one of many soldiers for that company. And it wasn't fulfilling. And I wasn't really able to double down on what my strengths are and what I'm passionate in, because I'm really passionate in applying creative principles to different types of business. And so making the transition from the corporate world to Heartland Drone Company really is an evolution of knowing what my strengths are, what I'm good at, what I love to do, what I'm passionate about, but then also sprinkling in those skills that I've developed from the corporate world over time. Okay, now how do I? So I really love multimedia, right? And I really love telling stories with video and graphic work. Well, now I also know how to sell that, right? So I'm combining things that I'm passionate about with real sales tools and business tools of how to create a legit company around that. And like with drones, there's a huge compliance component, of having Part 107, having insurance, having an EIN number, and being a legit vendor. I'm a government contractor now. I'll be with the VA hospital. And so just going through all of those compliance things of like what a smart business person would do, I have that too. So I think I love that. I mean, I love that component too, because I've, from a young age, I've been an entrepreneur. So it's kind of a microcosm of all these different things I've developed over the years. We have a lot of the similar thinking about it. And, I've always wanted to be my own boss and do my own thing. And then I graduated college, and I'm like, I've got all this energy. I feel like I'm intelligent enough to do something, but I have no idea what to do. And I feel that's how the majority of college kids are coming out now, that are graduating with a non-specific degree, like a comm degree, or I was political science. I was trying to play soccer, but then I was like,
I was exercise science.
Yeah, we had so many. Like half of our soccer team was exercise science majors, and they're like, I don't know, it seems like a good degree, and it's not that hard. And then you graduate, and you're like, what the hell do I do? And so. Excuse me. And so working for a corporate company can give you incredible tools to, I'm starting to understand just business process. It's now I can dumb it down. I can go sell something. It's either going to be a product or a service. And you start narrowing down what you're good at. And I think your route is awesome. It's very similar to the route that we have taken,
Yeah.
and going to a big corporate company, honing on your skills, and then going off and creating your own brand or product.
Yep. And the exciting thing in the case of drones, okay, so there are so many things that you can do with a drone, right? I mean, I'm using a drone to capture video and photography for creative purposes. I'm using it to capture legit data, right? Actionable data of buildings or assets. We just finished a project recently where we were doing thermal imaging with the drone, right? So it's like you can cover all these different cool, in my opinion, like really cool areas.
Yeah.
And as the company grows, as Heartland Drone Company grows, it's basically just following where is that next opportunity coming from, because you can go in all of these different directions, right? You can get into agriculture and do crop scouting with a drone. You can do ground control points and topographic map for the construction industry when they're moving a bunch of dirt, getting land ready for a construction site. Or you can use it to do creative projects like promotional and marketing. So there's all these different things. So at times it can be really challenging to know, like, all right, which one do I go for?
Because if you're a generalist,
yeah,
I think being a generalist in the market now is not a good direction to go.
Right.
You want to be specific so you can hone in on your pie.
Yeah. And one job you do within one sector then leads to another. And that's how I was able to kind of build out those three verticals. But at the same time, if somebody comes to me with a need or something that they want done with the drone, I'm not going to turn it down because that may just unlock a whole new vertical. And that's how inspection work started. So going back to the inception of the company, really we were just, me and the co-founder at the time, Josh, we were just doing like promotional stuff. But we got into building, well, after the company was running for a little while, and it was just me solo. I had an architect come to me and asked, can you do a building inspection? And I said, yeah, of course. And so, say yes and figure it out. And because at the end of the day, like, okay, I knew the types of shots that they wanted. I knew how to fly the drone. I knew how to be safe with the drone. I was legit, Part 107, all that stuff. So yeah, why the hell not? Let's do it. And that job was, I executed it successfully. It blew it out of the water. It was a 27-story building downtown. Talk about a first building inspection, a 27-story building, and blew it out of the water. And all of a sudden, I get referred to another architect and engineer who needed an inspection. So
the word of mouth business
that.
is so strong. Especially when you're starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you feel like you'll be able to scale? Because it's your time. You got to physically be there. Do you see yourself delegating as the years go on, as you grow, and being just more client interaction, not actually physically being there shooting the drones?
That's a really good question. And that was something that I had been asking myself for like the last 6 to 8 months. Like, okay, how the hell do I scale this from what it is right now? And one of the things that impacts it is the name, Heartland Drone Company, right? Okay, Heartland Drone Company. If I'm using the drone to do data capture and or inspection work, kind of the real techie, drone types of.
It's almost like
things.
Analytics.
Exactly. Like the robotic, the data, all of that. Having the name Heartland Drone Company makes a lot of sense. Okay, but if I am trying to partner with a client who needs a new digital media campaign, they need their social media managed, they need Google AdWords.
Do you do that as well?
Yeah. Wow. They need Google. They need graphic design, and
your name does not.
The name does not lend to that,
yeah.
Right? So here I am. I might be submitting a proposal to do, to for a company to outsource their marketing to me, right? And I'm competing against marketing company A, marketing company B, marketing company C, and then Heartland Drone Company. And they're like, hey, Andrew, dumbass, we need more than drone work here. We need you to, build a website for us. And those are skills and abilities that I have. but the name doesn't represent that.
Heartland Drone and Media Company.
Well, okay. I love it. I think we're on the same track here. And so I got to that point where I was like, okay, thinking next level on what I'm going to do moving forward is establish Heartland companies, right? So the mothership, right? Yeah. And then have subsidiaries.
Like that.
Right? So Heartland companies, right? Heartland Media, okay? Heartland Media now is the digital media arm of the company, right? So web design, SEO, all that bullshit, right?
My middle brother who is in the hunting industry, his Instagram is Heartland Hunts.
Booyah!
So he goes right there.
We'll get down there.
Yeah.
We'll get down there. Okay,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Give me his card.
Yeah.
Okay, so Heartland Companies, mothership. Okay, subsidiaries. Heartland Media. Okay, so now all of the digital media stuff that I do is now there. Heartland Drone, right, is now just focused on building inspection, asset inspection, data analytics, thermal imagery, using the drone as a data tool. Okay, that's Heartland Drone. And then the third is a new endeavor, and it's actually an emphasis on real estate. Okay, like multifamily housing units, okay, fourplexes, duplexes, things like that, and that would be Heartland Properties. Okay, I've always had an affinity for real estate. I want to invest in real estate and grow that out, and so that's kind of a placeholder for growing that out in the future. So now, going back to your question of like, hey, how does Heartland Drone Company scale, right? Well, Heartland Drone Company, as it stands today, has a hard time scaling, right? But then by shifting it to where it's actually 3 different entities, now I can grow each one of those. I can hire for each one of those, and they all help each other, right? So Heartland Media, branding, marketing, promotion, those skills and abilities there lend themselves to promoting and branding and marketing the drone company, right? The drones that are used in Heartland Drone are capturing video and photo used by the media company. And then the real estate arm is aided by those 2 elements too. Drone photography and video and selling properties, promoting properties, right? So they're all working together. They can all cross over, but then they can now individually scale. So that's going back, and that's a long answer for your question of how are you going to scale it, but that's how I want to do that.
And you need people.
Yes.
You need to make excellent hires. And that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Right now I sub it out.
Yeah.
So what the recent project that I worked on, where we were doing, and I say we were doing thermal imaging. That I contacted another drone pilot in Kansas City. It's funny how drone pilots kind of know each other in the city. That was a resource that I hadn't done thermal imaging yet. I had a architectural engineer reach out to me saying, I normally do building inspections for him, but it's just like a normal RGB camera, so just the normal camera on the drone. And he asked, hey, do you know how to do thermal imaging? And I said, that's something that I haven't done yet, but I'm going to find somebody who can do that. And so that's when I reached out to a contact here and subbed that out. And
have you ever thought about going to marketing companies? Because obviously there's a ton of marketing companies here in Kansas City, and saying, hey, do you want to sub out a drone option to me? Because here's
no,
I don't know anything about your business, but where it sounds like you could go, and I don't think you should, is where you're turning into a marketing or media company, and then you're trying to compete with all those big guys, and there's a million of them, the VMLs and the Barclays and all those, whereas your edge is that you specialize in drone.
Yeah.
And that you don't specialize in, we'll make you a new website. But that's just my thought.
No, that's valid. No, that's good perspective.
What kind of sacrifices did you have to make in your first year? Because where were you working before you started this?
So at the time when I started it, I was working in staffing.
Okay.
And then I left staffing and got a marketing position for a lab here in Kansas City.
Okay.
So I was working full time doing marketing, creative marketing.
Okay. And so how was that transition from getting a paycheck to putting in your notice and doing this full time?
Not scary. because I had come to a point
which
where,
is terrifying for most people.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Yeah, no, I realize that answer is probably the opposite of what most people would say. It wasn't scary because I finally had got to a point where I would have been more scared staying there, working in the corporate industry.
I said this that
terrified me.
Yeah.
Not because of the people or the company itself or the culture or anything like that. The great people, great company.
The thought of going, I can see what the next 5 years are going to look like if I stay in this company.
Yeah.
That terrifies me more than the unknown of if this business is going to fail or not.
Yeah. From a young age, I was wired to be an entrepreneur, right? And a lot of people say like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. You know, kids who just graduate from college, I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, that's all well and good, but there are certain sacrifices that you make, and there are certain ways that you understand what makes you tick and why you wake up in the morning. And I have struggled with that conflict, that internal conflict for the last 9 years, right? 10 years, and wanting to just double down on what I'm passionate in and do my thing. And so when you ask like, what was that like making the jump? Man, it felt great. It felt great.
Feels good.
Because I knew that if I was going to stay another day or another week, that scared me more than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I love to hear that. You know, it gives you more purpose, and you know, for us, every day is a surprise. You know, we had a rough morning this morning. We had a candidate back out.
Yeah.
You know, but we have another candidate this afternoon that might get the job.
Yeah.
But I love that up and down.
Yeah.
And it's exciting.
Yeah.
And we have where we were a year ago from today.
Yeah.
Today it's unbelievable, the growth. And then I have no idea where we're going to be in a year from now. Yeah. And it's so exciting. And I could be wrong. I just don't know a lot of companies that can provide that if you're the employee.
Right.
And I don't want to bash on companies because these companies are great, but I think for a lot of people that are feeling numb, that don't want to wake up and go to work anymore, and that aren't feeling passionate or aren't that fire in that belly isn't burning, there's other things to do. Yeah. And you know, when I came across the drone stuff, I've always, you know, since 2012, 2013, I was always like, you know, that's a great business to be in because you can create your own thing. You can have this whole brand and product, and you can do it yourself. All you need is buy that drone, have that editing software, and you can go there's a client around every corner.
Right.
I mean, are you kidding me? You can go to every commercial office building and knock on the door and say, hey, I do drones. Let me make you a video. Every warehouse in North Kansas City is a client.
Well, I'll put it this way. It's much easier to get in front of them and talk to them and have them listen to you when you're talking about drones.
Instead of staffing?
With all due respect.
No.
Well, but like what you're saying about, you know, just having that passion every day to go out and hunt and I'll give you an example, you know, from experience. I worked in the staffing industry for like 3 years, okay? And
what kind of staffing?
Finance and accounting and then IT.
Okay.
And I did full-time, direct hire, you know, I did contractors.
And these are for big-time corporate companies.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I was the worst employee. I was the worst. And here's why. Because I just didn't fully believe in what I was selling. I knew these companies are successful for a reason because they do a great job of, you know, of selling their services, right? And they've got infrastructure to back that up or whatever. That's all well and good, okay? But at the end of the day, I didn't give a shit about what I was doing, and I was going through the motions. I was going through the motions with clients, big accounts. I was just going through the motions. And that's because I didn't have the passion for it, right? And the thought of picking up the phone was painful, okay? But now, shifting into now I'm representing my own company, my own brand, it's totally different. Now I'm all in, and I'm totally invested, and I truly believe in what I'm doing, right? Just like you guys, you truly believe in what you're doing, and because now it's your name, And it's a totally different feeling. And so now I wake up every morning like excited to roll, 4:30 a.m. Let's go. Let's get it. And doing every little thing that I can from the time I'm up to the time I go to sleep to somehow channel energy into growing this company. And so that's kind of, the then and now. And, it's really nice to have that.
What advice would you give to someone that's trying to start their own 1-man, 2-man small business?
Yeah.
And just trying to get through that first year?
Yeah.
Any advice or anything you would tell Andrew 3 years ago?
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one. What would I tell Andrew 3 years ago? Stay positive. Mental health is such a huge thing that impacts everybody differently, right? And I got to a really low point 3 years ago, feeling like a failure, a complete failure, right? Like, what the hell is wrong with me? Failure. And so, the advice that I would have given to myself then, or that I give to anyone now, is stay positive. Know that you're going to have a lot of people who doubt what you're doing. You're going to have people who think that, hey, that's crazy because it's maybe not the conventional path or the conventional decision on what it is to work for a company nowadays, right? And so that noise can creep in and basically crack your foundation, and then you start doubting yourself, and then you think that you suck, and it's hard to overcome that. So just stay positive, but also don't get complacent.
Yeah.
You get a win, you do something good, you get a new client, you finish a project, boom, on to the next one. Okay? Don't dwell on that.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one. And so that'd be my advice.
I don't think your journey, and quite frankly ours, gets talked about enough. The small business where you can be a 1-man shop and you have a service, they're mostly services when they're our size.
Yeah.
And that, even if you're making $50,000, $75,000, just in the first 3 years of the business each year.
Yeah.
I'd rather be doing that than making $150 and working for a giant company and working 60 hours a week. And the thing that like frustrates me about like the Kansas City Business Journal and LinkedIn, like I'm reading the article, T-Loft. They had T-Loft. I've never been there. Brett, were there juices and tea and stuff?
Yeah, teas and juices.
They just filed. They're bankrupt, and they had to sell. But how much publicity and how much praise were they getting in 2017, 2018? That did this great company. That had the explosion of growth, and then they over-leveraged themselves because they have all these assets now, and the depreciation and all the rent they're paying for the plaza location, and that's what gets praised because it's sexy.
Yeah,
it's a new juice coming out.
The startup.
But guys like you, no one, no one's knocking on your door and say, "Tell me your story." And so, I don't know. I really appreciate your hustle.
Yeah. And
I wish more folks would do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because yours is actually a lot more sustainable than going, oh, I'm going to start up a juice shop and pay $10,000 in rent. How many bottles of juice do you have to sell in order to pay that rent?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
what a hard industry to get into.
Oh, well, right here in downtown OP, there was a donut shop.
Yeah.
God, what was it called? Anyway, they had 3 locations. I talked to the guy. He got a big spread on the Kansas City Business Journal. I asked him to come on. He was too shy.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because he had this awesome donut shop that got a lot of publicity. Yeah. And then behind the scenes, he was so leveraged out that when he had to quit, he had 0 ownership within 3 years of starting the business to within 3 years he got pushed out by the investors and had 0 ownership. And that's what gets talked about. Not, hey, I invested $15,000 in a drone, and I got my first client, and then I got a second client from that, and then I got 4 more from that, and this is how I'm building my business. This is where we are in year 3, year 5, year 8. You can create your own business being a 1-man, woman shop, And you can actually do that and get out of the corporate grind and be your own boss. We're not preaching that.
Yeah.
And so I get a little frustrated.
Oh, I'm with you.
Sorry, I went on a rant
no,
there,
no,
but
that's
it pisses
good.
me off.
No, I'm with you.
Because people get these other companies get praised. It's like,
okay, is it the Kansas City Business Journal or Ingram's where they always have like the 30 under 30 list?
Ingram's.
Mm-hmm. Man, I hate the 30 under 30
those
list.
are so bad.
I hate it, especially Ingram's because it's paid ads.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, this page sponsored by this company. Then you flip the page and 30 under 30 person from that company. It's like, what is this? Get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
who are you?
Yeah, who are you?
Who are you?
Yeah.
You're some, like
you're an associate at XYZ company.
Yeah, who cares? Who cares? You're a financial analyst somewhere. Who cares? At the end of the day, it's like, I think people lean way too much on the impact of social media, and in those cases, print. With Kansas City Business Journal, Ingram's, because like every corporate company here in Kansas City always has that delivered to their lobby, right? So you can always see it. But I think people get hung up on that too much. Of what does it mean to be an entrepreneur? You have to have like some tech thing, or you have to have some sexy startup, and
you don't even know what it.
And you got to dress like you don't give a shit, and you have to have some cool co-working office space. It's like, hey, all right, well, look at it from a real business standpoint.
Yeah.
How the hell are they paying for that overhead?
Yeah.
All those assets, like, so from like a drone standpoint, you'll have people who like nerd out on getting all this drone technology, right? So they get a drone or 2 drones, they get all of the equipment to go along with that, and they totally beef up in assets. And then it comes out that they actually like don't know the core principles of how to sell, right? And how to make a profit and what that means. Or they'll have like, you get some of these drone guys and gals who they'll have like a van, like one of those small little vans, and they'll totally redo the inside of it. And it's like a mobile command unit that has flat screen TVs and all this horse shit that you don't need, right? You don't need it. I've used the same drone since the beginning. It's a Phantom 4 Pro. Works great. I use it for all different things. If I'm getting shots from the ground, I don't use a different camera, Steadicam. I use the drone. I walk around with the drone. Okay? I mean, it's not, the blades aren't spinning, the camera's on.
Yeah.
And it's awesome motion stabilized 4K footage from a handheld. So I'm still bootstrapping it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out and buy a bunch of equipment that I don't need and totally overextend myself, and then by the 3rd month just fall flat on my face, right?
Yeah.
So like going back to the question of, well, what did that feel like when you left the corporate world and now you're not getting a paycheck from there? Well, it's like, well, I'm not a dumbass. Like I know how to spend money wisely and how to use the money that I'm making to then turn around and reinvest that and then keep going.
Yeah.
A lot of people fail with that because
hence this room.
Yeah.
I could have spent this on a new car, but I'd rather spend it on the business.
Yeah. I would afterwards. I'd like to discuss maybe subleasing this so I can do my own podcast and we can split the rent.
Hey,
right?
We're always open to that. And it's funny. So like,
if I'm not already going to do this in my basement and then not pay any overhead.
And we've gotten several inquiries about that.
Oh yeah.
People going, hey, can you come help us build out a studio? Hey, how much does the studio rent? We've gotten inquiries. We've kind of been a little hesitant on going down that road, but we're definitely open to it. And because I had a professional come in here and do this, and it all costs money, but it's an investment. And then who knows, that can maybe open up another door for us. What happens when another recruiting firm says, hey, we will pay you to come in and build out our studio. Well, if you're not an entrepreneur and try new things and do a little risk, you're never going to get that kind of conversation going. And that's the stuff that gets me going. I love that.
Yeah, just put up different pictures,
Yeah.
and then maybe put like something different on the table, and then boom, now it's a totally different company doing a podcast.
So, what do you think the future are for drones?
I think, well, they're everywhere right now. Okay, but there's still like this fascination from a lot of people where they see one and they think it's really cool, right? And then, look at that thing, it's hovering there. Wow, so badass. Or we were at the park and all of a sudden this drone appeared and we didn't know, we got afraid. And like there's just this really big intrigue right now with drones. And for people who are not in the industry, using drones, which that's a lot of people, right? They're they've got a lot of different opinions on them. But working within the industry, and working with a drone on a daily basis and knowledgeable of kind of where the industry is going and the technology is going, drones are going to be involved in almost every aspect of our life at some point. How soon we get to that, I don't know yet. But one of the things that is restricting drones right now from really being a huge factor in like logistics, right? So Amazon, drone deliveries and all that, is one of the rules from the FAA where you have to fly a drone within line of sight. So if Amazon is delivering packages and they're flying a drone from a warehouse to your front porch, it goes beyond line of sight, right? So it violates that rule from the FAA. Yep. So it really... Do
you think that'll change?
I think it'll change, yeah, no doubt. Because money talks. There's too much money around them.
Okay, yeah. If I'm with...
More efficient,
what's the range on that, though? On the DJI?
What's that?
So, like how far...
DJI is the brand.
Yeah,
would you say that that's probably the best brand?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
right.
They're... they're global. They've been doing it for a while. And they have a lot of different models of drones, and they do a good job. Yeah.
I just think it'd be so much more efficient instead of having the Amazon van that comes here every day.
Right.
Using
efficiency
gas and
time is money. Time is money. And
are these drones built already to carry a 20-pound package to the sky?
Well, some are. They're building some that can do that. The models that you buy from DJI don't. Not that I've seen that they don't have that type of capability because they're constructed within the bounds of like what is legal to fly. But you still have all of these other manufacturers out there who build drones, and like you have drones for military purposes, right? Which is a totally different type of drone. So can drones carry that much weight? Yeah, no doubt.
Don't you get freaked out?
so
if
that's
we
the
just
thing.
Walked outside and there was hundreds of drones rolling around, what about privacy?
Yeah.
Gone.
Like
right. Privacy's already gone.
Yeah, that's true too.
Do you have a smartphone?
That's very true.
But now you have mobile cameras.
Yeah.
Instead of the camera that's mounted to this building, you have mobile cameras that are on 24 surveillance of people.
Yeah.
Well, I think just where they could go as far as technology is going to be insane. I mean, you could get 8K cameras in a few years, the way technology is going now, and then you could get it to zoom in from 500 feet down to a foot.
Yeah,
easily.
Yeah, and then I saw there was this news story I saw a few weeks back where like China was working on facial recognition to where you could identify if someone was happy or sad from a crowd, like a crowd of people walking across the street in Shanghai. Like you can using AI detect people's mood, if they're a male, a female. It's basically tracking everything, and now or eventually you can do that from a drone. But I don't know. So it's going back to where I think it's going. Drones are going to be more. They're going to be more and more commonplace, and they scare the hell out of people right now. But the automobile scared the hell out of people back when horses and buggies were around. Okay, but then that became a very normal thing. Just like with the auto industry, you then all of a sudden started doubling down on rules for driving, right? Rules for roadways and where pedestrians are and all those, right? Traffic signals, right? And so the FAA right now is that, okay? They're the Department of Motor Vehicles of the sky, right? So the FAA is trying to catch up with drone technology and put more rules and regulations around drones. So a lot of folks who fly drones, they'll get upset with the FAA if they can't fly in a certain airspace or whatever. I'm all for that. You have to have that type of compliance and regulation because you want to build.
Because all it takes is one drone to take down a 200-person plane, and it's over for everybody.
Yeah, no doubt. And there are so many great things that you can do with drones that. If you want to build a sustainable, healthy industry, an exciting industry, you have to have that type of compliance too. So to answer your question, you're going to see drones, different shapes, different sizes, doing a lot of different things. So get used to it. And when it comes to privacy, well, if you got a smartphone, then you gave up your privacy a long time ago.
Yeah, no doubt. Unfortunately,
do you have the headset?
I don't.
But that's an option, right?
Oh yeah. No, a lot of people have them.
Wow.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, again, I don't need it for the jobs that I'm on, so I'm not gonna buy it.
Yeah.
Until I need it.
Yeah. Keeping your overhead low is good, man. It's part of the small business model. You know, if you want to sustain, we all want to become bigger businesses, but in the beginning, you gotta run lean and mean. But I remember, I think they were delivering pizzas or something in Texas, and a bunch of Texans started shooting down drones.
Yeah.
Do you hear that?
Well, not specifically that story, but I've heard all sorts of stories of people shooting down drones or throwing stuff at drones.
Is there any city or any town where they're actually successfully using drones as delivery and it's sustainable? Because you hear about all these pilot places.
Yeah. There's not like an ordinance or some sort of FAA waiver that exists right now where people are doing that. And actually, one of the things that they're doing with drones is delivering like blood specimens, right? Long distances. So in countries like in Africa, where you have all these remote places and you need to get specimens back and forth. They've been experimenting with drones there, but to do that, they've got an FAA clearance, and it's part of like a grant program and things like that. But just here domestically, just for regular commercial uses, no.
Is there an drone? Is there an advocate in the drone community that's pushing a lot of drone new regulations and pushing to get drones more prominent?
I can't really think of like a specific person, like the Steve Jobs, of drones, or like Elon Musk, but there are some tech companies within the drone industry that have contributed a lot to what drones can do. One that comes to mind is Drone Deploy. So Drone Deploy is a software company that basically you can sync up the Drone Deploy app to your drone and perform all of these different types of flight missions. So you can do like 2D mapping, 3D mapping, point cloud, you can do topographic maps. So you can really flex the muscles of what the drone can do. And Drone Deploy has done a really good job of kind of cornering that market of mapping. Pix4D is another one. So there are some of these, tech companies within the space who are really innovating. But I don't know. I'm also not like a super nerdy drone guy. So I'm sure if you ask that question to some of the drone nerds out there, they'll probably say, "Oh, well, this guy or this gal." But from my perspective, no, it's really more of the tech companies themselves that are cutting through a lot of that dense jungle, and then a lot of people are coming up behind and utilizing the technology to do business.
Do you see the drone and the hovercraft world kind of intersecting? The reason why I asked, I just watched a video of a guy on a hovercraft fly from the
English Channel. He crossed it.
22 minutes.
Yeah. Is that how long it took?
22 minutes, they said.
I guess I don't realize. I've never been over there. I guess I don't even know how far the English Channel is.
I think it's.
Did somebody swim it?
Yeah. People swim it all the time. Yeah. I think it's probably like 100 miles.
Okay.
Maybe less. Maybe like 50 miles.
Yeah, that's pretty far. But do I see him like overlapping?
You're either really close or really far off. I think it's around 50, less than 50 maybe, but around that. It's just a long ways if you're swimming.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it. That's one thing I'm very down for is human transportation because I hate the airport.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen it's the same concept as a drone, but it takes a person.
Yeah.
But it's not a hoverboard though. It's like it looks like a DJI. It's got like the 4 or 8 different propellers. Yeah. And it just picks people up and takes them, or you can fly it individually.
So a drone, like the definition of a drone is UAS, unmanned aerial system. So if a drone was, by definition, if a drone was transporting somebody, it wouldn't be a drone because then it's manned, right? Then it would be a
different category.
Copter.
Yeah.
Which falls under different types of like licensing from the FAA. So like Part 107, that part of the FAA rule book, that is for UAS, unmanned aerial systems, drones. But if you transported a person, then it'd be manned.
Yeah.
So I think it'd fall into a different category.
Yeah. Well, this has been excellent. You want to cover anything else, Brett?
No, that was great.
No.
People want to check out your work.
Yeah.
Interested in contact with you?
Yeah. HeartlandDroneCompany.com. When it comes to the social channels, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I like to post content that provides some value instead of like pictures of cats.
Yeah.
You know, or quotes that, you know, for whatever reason, people like really love to put quotes on LinkedIn. So whenever I post content on LinkedIn, I try to at least have some sort of substance to it.
Yeah. Not pandering.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like likes and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't really care. But if somebody does engage with my post, I do consider it a lead. Yeah. So if we're not a first connection, if we're a second or a third connection, and you like or share my post, I'm gonna add you on LinkedIn, and I'm gonna say thanks, and usually I leave it at that. But I've had some good clients actually come from LinkedIn.
That's excellent.
But no, putting something on there and then checking for likes all day, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate when somebody likes it. So like my stuff.
No, it's great, man. It's been excellent. Yeah. Love having you tell about your story. You're super genuine and authentic, and we really appreciate that. And hopefully we do this again, and you're going to be even bigger than you are now.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, appreciate it. Yep.
Cool.